Let's talk about fasting as something that would be a good, tool in your toolbox of nutrition, but not a punishment for your body. Not when I'm feeling fat or I feel like shit or, I've got to lose this weight. More like we don't want to use it as a punishment. We never want to punish our bodies. Our body doesn't deserve to be punished because we make shitty decisions. It just doesn't. If you're a woman over 40 and you feel like your body just isn't working the way it used to, low energy, bloating after meals, stubborn weight, nothing's working, and on top of it all, you have brain fog. You're not crazy, and you're not broken. For so many women, it feels like overnight everything has changed. Foods that you used to tolerate suddenly make you feel terrible. Your energy crashes, and no matter how clean you eat and how much you exercise, something still feels off. That's why I created Simply the Best. It's a 90-day experience designed specifically for women over 40 to rebuild their gut health, restore their energy, and help them feel confident in their bodies again. Inside the program, we focus on healing your gut so everything else starts working again. Smoother digestion, balanced weight without obsessing, clearer skin, better mood, sharper focus, and energy you haven't felt in years. Because when your gut is working, your whole life levels up. If you're ready to feel like yourself again, you can learn more about joining the program in the link in the show notes. All right, back to the episode. Welcome to the Let's Talk Shit podcast. I am your host, Lisa Garrett. I am a wife, mom of 4 boys, 2 German Shepherds, and I'm a gut and psychology practitioner. Look, I know you've done all the things with diet and exercise, and I also know that your health means the world to you. I'm going to show you how your gut health is the game changer to your weight, your confidence, and your stamina. So if you're ready to become the shit in your life, then let's jump in. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Let's Talk Shit. Today, we're talking all things fasting. It is the premier tool to have a better you. This is what they all say. But I'm going to debunk some of this, and then you can decide if fasting is the right mode of operation for you, because it really is dependent on you. So let's get into it. I did write some notes down, so I'm going to be looking off here to grab my notes. First of all, fasting's been around since beginning of time. I mean, the first humans didn't have 3 meals, 3 snacks, obviously. They maybe ate once every 3 days, whenever they could find food. Their body learned very good autophagy. That's a big word today. It just means cellular cleanup. So the body gets rid of waste and unhealthy cells and just kind of, cleans house, much like a street sweeper, okay? But the thing is, your body does autophagy when you're sleeping. If you're not eating, first things first in the body. The second you eat, your body's like, oh, we got to get to work, digestion, it's time to go, okay? But when you're sleeping, if you don't eat from 7 p.m. until 7 a.m., you have 12 good hours of autophagy going on in the body. That's a good thing. So let's talk about fasting as something that would be a good, tool in your toolbox of nutrition, but not a punishment for your body. Not when I'm feeling fat or I feel like shit or I've got to lose this weight. More like we don't want to use it as a punishment. We never want to punish our bodies. Our body doesn't deserve to be punished because we make shitty decisions. It just doesn't. So let's talk about who fasting would not be ideal for. Number 1, the person who undereats to begin with. The person who is probably below 1,000 calories, the person who doesn't have an appetite, the person who says, oh yeah, I can do this easily, but they're already under eating. That person should not use fasting as an active protocol. A woman who is high stressed, whether it's working too much working out too much, maybe family, home life is very stressful, and she's kind of at her wit's end all the time. Again, you're putting stress on top of stress. Not ideal for that person. Anybody who is a poor sleeper, and let me tell you, sleep is an indication of how balanced you are. It's not about you getting up and peeing. It's not about you, I need a snack. It could be a blood sugar thing. But for the most part, it's a worrier. It's somebody who has unfinished business in their mind and body. It could be someone with trauma. Could be someone with heartache. Could be someone with grief. All those things are stressful. That's my point. So that's the person whose cortisol stays elevated when it should drop. Okay. Fasting will exasperate the way you feel. So that is definitely a person who shouldn't fast. Another poor candidate for fasting is someone who's had an eating disorder. And an eating disorder from eating too much, not eating enough, starvation, whatever it is, whether you've been diagnosed or not with it, if you have any hang up with food whatsoever, you should not be fasting because you're using the lack of food as a tool. And again, that really defeats the purpose of fasting. Any woman who is underweight, frail, or has a low muscle mass should not fast. Again, if your body is already thin, already lean, and already, maybe not even lean, maybe you're just underweight and your doctor has told you you're underweight and you know you're underweight and you can't find clothes that fit and it's hard for you to go shopping because nothing fits, so you don't buy anything. Okay, if you're underweight, don't fast. Let me just say that. Anybody who is pregnant or breastfeeding absolutely should not fast. And then women on glucose lowering meds shouldn't fast. That messes with your blood sugar all the time. Okay. So those are the people who should not fast. Okay. Now I'm not talking fasting after dinner until breakfast. That's a normal fast. I'm talking fasting after dinner and fasting till dinner the next day, or doing a 2-day fast, or doing even an 18-hour fast might be too much. Women are wonderful at starving themselves. We wrote the book on it because we learned a long time ago, if I don't eat, I will lose some weight. Well, as you get older, that backfires, and you just really have to step back and examine your stress level. Where am I at in my relationships, in my health, in my own mind, in my sleep? What is my thyroid saying? If you have a thyroid problem, the worst thing to do is add more stress, okay? And keep in mind that stress is the reason you got into the thyroid mess in the beginning, or if you have an autoimmune disease. Stress is one of the components that got you into the mess. You didn't know it. You didn't feel it. You didn't see it coming. You didn't see the stress bus as it drove down your street and stopped. You don't remember getting on it, but you did. No one sees the stress bus coming, yet we're all waiting at the bus stop for it. We don't even know it. So, okay. Who is a good candidate for fasting? People with some stable energy. So if you feel pretty balanced and you're whatever age and you're like, you know what? Breakfast is kind of not a thing. I'm sleeping good. I work out. I can fast through breakfast and I can still get all my calories in between lunch and dinner. If you can get all of your calories in and you have a good idea about how much to eat and you're not underweight and you like the weight you're at, fasting would be good. Now, fasting's also good for everybody to do seasonally. So going into spring, coming through the winter, maybe doing a 24-hour fast one time. In fact, the 24-hour fast is the first thing we do in Simply the Best, because we want to shut down digestion. We want things to calm down. That's another good reason to do any amount of fasting. So when I was diagnosed with celiac, I would, of course, pay attention to every label and everything that was out there, just because I wanted to avoid the massive stomach aches and the poor sleep, and then the, running to the bathroom feeling. It's the worst. So I would, be very diligent at home during the week because I was in control of the calories. What was I putting in my mouth? What was I making for dinner? I was in control of it. But we would go out on the weekends, or I would go to gatherings and inevitably end up with a stomach ache almost every Monday. And I would just, kick myself like, what the heck did I do? What happened? What did I eat? I thought I was eating gluten-free. And it wasn't like I was just, I'll have a sub sandwich. No. I was still paying attention, but when you eat out, you run the risk of contamination. Fine. And the other thing that I learned was the less you take care of your gut when you have a food sensitivity, and the more that you ignore it, and the more that you continue to introduce foods that sort of aggravate your gut, the more sensitive your gut becomes, and the less your gut can deal with contamination out. So I've talked to plenty of people. Oh my gosh, you're celiac, so is my mom. My mom had to get all new utensils. My mom, I can't have any gluten in my house for my child, or we can't go out to eat because, within 20 minutes, my husband, fill in the blank. That was me, isn't me anymore. Isn't me. In fact, my mom just had everybody over on Sunday, and she made meatballs, and she said, she had a crock pot. She made them ahead of time. This one's gluten-free. And I said, okay, Mom, that's fine. And she goes, well, just so you know, I don't want the spoons contaminated. And I was like, Mom, it's okay. I'm good. But there's other people in the family that have celiac, and the celiac is in the very sensitive stage of, I can't have any issues, and I'm going to speak quickly to that, which just says do some gut health so that you strengthen up your gut so you're not so uber sensitive. Okay. So I inevitably would have this stomach ache on Mondays. I wouldn't eat anything on Mondays, not because I didn't want to, but because when you have a stomach ache, think about it. When you just have a stomach ache, do you want to eat anything? No. Nobody goes, oh, my stomach is killing me. I think I'll make a sandwich. Nobody does that. So I wouldn't eat all day long. And I would just drink water, and probably didn't even have coffee at the time. No, nothing else, just water. And I would just think, just calm down, just calm down. And the thought of eating actually made my stomach hurt more. So then after that, I would try a smoothie, or I would try a soup. And it was just like a thought of, by default, I'm going to put something in my body that is easier to digest, that won't cause me any pain, because after you fast all day, you're hungry, and I wanted something to eat, but I didn't want another stomach ache. So I would have a smoothie, or I would make some soup, or I would honestly just drink some chicken broth. Sometimes that's all it took to get me over the hump until the next day. That was my tool to ease digestion. I wasn't trying to lose weight, and I wasn't trying to, get into autophagy. I just was trying to calm my gut down. That's a very good reason to fast. So if you are a GI person and you have gas, bloat, diarrhea, constipation, heartburn, colitis, ulcerative colitis, Crohn's, celiac, food sensitivities, whatever it is, if you have eaten something and you got all these digestive, symptoms, fasting for 24 hours is not a bad idea. It actually is a great idea. It's like turning off your car and taking the keys out. That's all you're doing. But then you have to replenish those calories. And when the body's ready to eat and the pain is gone and the bloat is gone and all of that. And at that point, if this keeps happening, you need to be in my program. You need to be in Simply the Best to figure out what foods are making this happen in the first place. So someone who has digestive issues, they're a good candidate for fasting as needed. That's what I will say, fasting as needed. Not every day, not every Monday, just fasting as needed to calm things down. People who generally have good sleeping, good fasters. Remember, sleep is an indication of how balanced you are in your everyday life. So if you're sleeping good, you've got a good workout regimen, you've got your stress pretty much under control. And you know what's funny about stress is that when we have it under control, we're like, oh yeah, I've got it under control. But when we're stressed, we're not like, oh yeah, I'm stressed. We still think it's under control until we have it under control. And then we realize it never was under control. So if you sleep good, if you're balanced, if you're healthy weight, healthy cortisol levels, you feel good in your skin, you have a good relationship with food, and you have some digestive issues, fasting might be a good tool for you, okay? And actually, a little bit of fasting makes you appreciate eating. It makes you appreciate digestion, good digestion, and it also gives you some good information. So after I would have my run-in with gluten or whatever, and then I'd have a stomach ache and I'd fast, I just remember eating on like day 3, whatever I made for dinner, and thinking, this tastes so good and it's digesting so well and it felt so good. So it does give you a little bit, actually a lot of bit of appreciation for the food you're eating and the fact that your body can do it well. Remember, it only takes 2 days to start flipping that gut biome. So that's another reason we do this in Simply the Best right out of the gate, is we do the 7-day reset, which is my reset I created 20 years ago, which I just described. I fasted for a day, eat some soups and smoothies, and then eat real food and nothing but real food. And what a game changer on your symptoms, what a game changer on your energy, what a game changer on your confidence of feeling better. That's the other thing. When you don't feel good, you don't have good confidence about yourself, your life. You don't. But when you're in control and you're feeling like your efforts are paying off and you actually feel better digestively and you feel better in your skin, then you have a lot more confidence. So here are some things that are pretty obvious signs, and maybe the stress isn't as obvious, but if you are the person waking up around that 3 a.m. mark every night, that was me for years. Sometimes I still do, and I'm like, oh, I'm not getting back to that. That is a detox message from your body that your liver is struggling to detox, okay? Not a good idea to fast. Okay, I want fasting to be for the person who's sleeping through the night. And there's something called body meridians, which means you wake up at a certain time and that organ needs a little more attention. So waking up at 3 could be lack of bile production, could be liver can't keep up. If you're on medications, your liver could be congested. You need a decongested liver to make more T4 hormone so that you can change it into T3, the active form for your thyroid stimulating hormone. So your liver's really important. So if you're the person waking up at 3 a.m., do not fast. Do not fast beyond like what I call the digestive fast from dinner to breakfast. That should be normal for everybody. You know, dinner, you eat, kitchen's closed, and then boom, you sleep through the night, and then you wake up, and then you're ready to break the fast and nourish your body with breakfast. If you are a person who feels shaky without food, that's a blood sugar issue. fasting is not great for you. So if you do my 7-day reset, and I always tell people, if you get shaky, just eat. Don't keep going with it. That shakiness, that's a blood sugar dip. That means the body needs something to pick up the blood sugar. Eat. Don't ever blow off the shakiness. If you're a person who needs caffeine during the day to survive, do not fast. If you have a low mood or you're really anxious, do not fast. If you're doing a lot of intense workouts for whatever reason, if you're training for something, if you're doing CrossFit, if you're doing Metcon, if you're powerlifting, if you're, working outside a lot, maybe you have a job where you're a gardener or something, do not fast. Bad idea. You are asking your body to go the distance without any fuel. That is downright cruel. And let me ask you this. Would you ever tell your child to not eat? If they were hungry, if they had a shaky hand, like blood sugar, the child that goes, like maybe you have a kid who's in these camps, maybe you have, a child who's a college athlete, they're not fasting. None of these athletes are fasting. They can't keep enough calories in them. I remember when our boys were doing sports in middle school and high school, I was always sending extra food to make sure that they never were without something to eat. Even if they weren't doing a sport and they had something to do after school, like school activities or whatever, I always made sure that they had something with them. I'm still doing that. I'm still like, take these beef sticks. Here's some granola. Let's make some energy balls. I'm going to make some energy balls here in the next couple days. Just to give them something that they can, run on, because you don't want your blood sugar dipping around. You want your blood sugar to sail. You don't want it way up here and you don't want it down here. You want it to wave right in the middle, because a happy blood sugar is a person who has sustained energy through the whole day. That's the object of the game. How can I get up, have my coffee, eat all the meals I want, and have sustained energy so that I have enough brain fuel to do what I need to do and want to do in a day? And that's just, remember, it takes a lot of energy, a lot of calories to just run your body, to run your brain, your lungs, your heartbeat, digestion, detox. Detox is going on 24/7 in your body. It's detoxing as you're listening to me. So is mine. It's just the way the body's made. So you have that baseline of calories, and then think about the calories needed to do the job you do every day, or to do your family life every day. You have those calories. Then think about all the calories it takes to do a workout. That's bonus caloric expenditure. Whether you're doing an hour, half hour, 20 minutes, 2 hours, how many calories are being used there? Okay. Hey, real quick, before we jump back in, if you're enjoying this episode of Let's Talk Shit, do me a favor and hit the subscribe button. Every subscribe, every download, and every share helps us reach more people who are tired of feeling stuck and ready to feel like themselves. And if someone popped into your mind while you're listening, a friend, sister, buddy, workout friend, your husband, your neighbor, or that person who's always sending you the health podcast, send this to them right now. Word of mouth is how this podcast grows, and I so appreciate every single share. All right, let's get back to the conversation. So you want to make sure that, just think about how many calories it takes to run your body. And then if you are a heavy exerciser and you're not eating enough, you have thrown your body into a metabolic cortisol crash, where your body's like, ding, 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 red alert, not enough calories, not enough calories. Body starts feasting on its own muscle mass. That's just what happens in the body, because it's got to survive until it can't. Things like thyroid go wrong, digestion goes wrong, muscle cramps, you don't have enough electrolytes. Your weight is just dwindling away. It's a cascade of too much stress and not enough calories to run the body that you want to run. So, and also, if you're not eating enough protein, because in order to fast effectively, you have to have enough muscle mass. So if you are pillow soft and you just look in the mirror and think, I don't have enough muscle mass, you shouldn't be fasting. Okay? You just shouldn't. But you can do a 12-hour fast from dinner to breakfast. That's ideal. Your body actually wants that. But then when you get up, you need to eat real food through the day to nourish, because that's what's going to feed that metabolic rate. And then you need to do some things to increase your muscle mass, which we all know what that is, weight training, right? Okay. So if your cortisol is already high, and you don't even need to do a test to feel this, if you're not sleeping, if you're worried, if you can't stay focused, if you're super lethargic, anxious, all those things point to stress. If you're any of those things, you're overtrained, all of those things, you should not fast. You absolutely should not fast. Your body's already stressed, and fasting is a stressor to the body. It's asking your body to go without for a length of time. And that's okay if you're balanced and healthy going into it. But if you're not, no. You're asking your body to do a lot. Okay, let me break this down to a fasting section. We talked about who it would be good for, who it wouldn't be good for. Remember, autophagy is the body's cellular cleanup process. Okay, this is why people do fasting. So it's going to get rid of all of the dead cells. It can shift the microbiome, because in 2 days you get new enterocytes, which are gut cells, and they're born into the gut flora and they're thriving and happy, and it's like popcorn. But then when you eat pizza and drink beer, you totally, stun those enterocytes. And now the bacteria, the community they live in, is dirty and dingy and gross. And now those cells are kind of wonky and they can't do their job in your gut flora. And 2 days later, they die off. And then what happens is more new cells are born into the gut. But the problem is the gut flora, the community that they live in, is like a trash can. So this is why gut health is so important every time you eat. First of all, knowing what works for you, meaning foods. Which foods are my best? Which proteins are my best? Which fats are my best? And how much of that works? What's the secret sauce for me? What's the secret sauce for you to gain weight, to lose weight, to do your life? Okay? What's your healthy body composition that's sustainable and that keeps all of your organs happy? Now, being 10% body fat, is it sustainable? For some people it is. For most women, it's not, because we weren't really meant to be that lean forever. We weren't. But there's a fine line between being, extremely lean and being insulin resistant. We don't want either one of those. We want you to be insulin sensitive with, especially as you age, a little bit more body fat, because that's what the body wants, but not to the point where you have so much fat on you that you see it, you feel it, it's affecting your range of motion, it's affecting your activity level, it's affecting your blood sugar. No, we do not want that. So the autophagy is like taking out the trash, okay? And fasting can expedite that, okay? It can expedite that. But remember, just fasting from dinner to breakfast can do this without you having to, quote, starve and all of that. Okay. So If autophagy is your body's way of taking out the trash, you're probably thinking, shouldn't we take the trash out more often? Yes and no. Toxins from the air, like, okay, I love the smell of rain, and I love the smell of cut grass. But what I don't love the smell of is fertilizer. Fertilizer. Yuck. I'm inhaling that, okay? And that means that, it's on the grass, and when the wind's blowing, it's in my hair, it's on my skin, it's on my dog, it's everywhere. So your body wants to break that down through autophagy, okay? And one of the ways to do that, you can speed up autophagy, is by not adding any more toxins to your diet, like fake foods, period, processed foods, sodas, alcohol. Anything that you know is a toxin, I don't have to tell you what they are. Anything that you eat and drink that's a toxin is going to just add to some of the environmental toxins that you have zero control over. All the cars on the road, all the construction around your area. Maybe you work in an office where there's fake light and 1,000,001 computers. That's toxic overload, okay? But exercise is a great way for autophagy to happen. You're moving your body, you're speeding up circulation, and you're sweating. You're draining the lymph system. That's a great way to do autophagy without having to starve and further exasperate stress in the body. Sleep. If you are run down, wired and tired, focus on your sleep as a means of autophagy. Focus on that, because the body will replenish, it will renew, and it will rebuild while you're sleeping and you're fasting anyway. Okay? So it's a good way. Fasting is a good way to create the autophagy, but I'm telling you there are other ways. Sleeping, exercise, those are great ways to do it. And fasting doesn't magically detox your body. Your liver magically detoxes your body all the time. Right now, it's detoxing your body. When you lay down and go to sleep, as long as you're not up and eating, your liver's going into phase 2 detox to really tap in to, not just as you're eating throughout the day and your liver's trying to help with digestion and detox, but now there's no food coming in. Now the liver can really get busy on some of these stored toxins and, the hormones that are clogging the liver. If you're taking GLP-1s, if you're on hormone replacement therapy, if you're on any testosterone shots, if you're on any fake supplements, if you're on any medications, the liver's got to deal with all of that on top of all the food and beverages that you consume, on top of all the environmental toxins that you're inhaling, that you're slathering on your skin. Your liver has a lot of work to do. So if you don't want fasting to backfire, I'm going to tell you to make sure that your sleep is in order. Make sure your gut is in order. Okay? Make sure you know what foods work best. And if you have a food that you're like, I'm sensitive to this, or I have an allergy to this, don't fuck around with it. Just don't. Deal with your gut. And remember, it's not like, oh, I'm just sensitive to wheat, I don't have to take care of my gut. You do. You have to restore the gut barrier, because the leaky gut is what got you the sensitivity or the food allergy in the first place. So once you start nourishing your gut with fermented foods, but first and foremost, finding out what are my best foods. Is coconut good? Is collagen good for me? In the way that I'm eating it, what are my best proteins? Are peanuts good for me? Are avocados good for me? How many eggs? I mean, and I'm not even talking about cholesterol. I'm talking about, like, some people cannot digest eggs very well. You need to know this. And where there's one food sensitivity, there's others. My niece just told me, Yeah, I did this food sensitivity test. Corn. Corn came up. Well, she's celiac. And in my mind, well, I said to her, I said, well, when you're allergic to one grain or you have a sensitivity, chances are there's going to be another one. And it's going to keep adding up because the gut has not been restored. She's a young mom. She has a really high profile job. She travels a little bit, probably more than a little bit, and she's training for a marathon. Sounds a little bit like me. But she, she's young, and you got to figure these things out on your own time and your own space. But I'm just telling you that if you have one food sensitivity, and I remember one of my professors telling me this, and I was blown away by it. If you have one food that you can't tolerate, there will be others, and your body will keep going and going and going until you freaking stop the madness. That's because the leaky gut has not been fixed. You have to clean up the gut. You got to change the gut biome. You got to patch up the gut wall. You can't have food slipping in and out of the gut. It doesn't want that. Your body's like, stop the madness. Just stop. So, kind of went off on a tangent. I do want to quickly talk about thyroid because there's so many people with thyroid issues. Your thyroid is obviously your master metabolic regulator in the body. And there's people that don't have thyroids. There's people that have high thyroid, low thyroid. Mine was hypothyroid, and I was on the verge of Hashimoto's, which is thyroid disease. That has since been reversed. But you have to have enough thyroid stimulating hormone. Okay. And so T4 converts to T3, which is the active form. So a lot of people are taking like a levothyroxine. That's a T3 because they know it's the one that will convert more for the TSH. However, a low T3 is already stressed, okay? So if you are taking medication for thyroid, let's just start with some gut health. And if you've been taking medication for years and years and years for thyroid, I never tell anyone to stop a medication, but the idea that you can now get off of that medication from your thyroid is probably impossible because if you've been on it 10, 20 years, it has taken over for your thyroid. So there has to be this kind of overlapping of all these great health things that you're doing for your thyroid, which is honoring your sleep, great digestion, eating the right foods, ignoring the other foods. And you have to be so diligent to flip that thyroid. It can be done, and you can go back and they can lower your dose and keep lowering. That's what I mean. It has to be an overlap of, healthy gut health and then getting off your thyroid meds. It has to be both together. You can't just stop. Otherwise you'll be, up a shit creek with your thyroid. So, if your thyroid is already compromised, fasting is not suggested. Okay, it's just not. So I know intermittent fasting is all the rage, was all the rage, still all the rage. Women are still trying to do it. It actually has backfired for women, especially going into perimenopause and menopause. It has sent people into hypothyroidism because it's too much stress on the body. Listen, ladies, perimenopause and menopause is stressful enough. You don't need to fucking starve yourself in the process. You just don't. One thing at a time. Let your body figure out the menopause. Let your body figure that out first. Figure out how you can nourish, find your balance, get your hormones tested, know what you're working with, and then move on from there. Really, I'm just telling you to let the intermittent fasting thing go. I'm going to tell you, if you're a woman, 50 to 70, let it go. But one thing I will say is fasting from dinner to breakfast. I tell all my clients to do this. That is a safe fast. That's about 12 hours. That's a great fast. That means you have 12 hours to consume all of your food. So for 12 hours, you shut it all down, let your body replenish. I promise your sleep will improve. But then you have 12 hours to consume all the calories that you need in the right amounts of fats, proteins, and carbohydrates. And if you're still waking up in the middle of the night and you're not eating enough carbohydrates, it could be a blood sugar issue. Okay? So a lot of times people wake up because of stress, or they didn't eat enough during the day and the body's like, hello, I can't even do the cellular processing I need to do because I don't have enough energy because you didn't eat. Because you decided to do A, B, C, and now I can't do X, Y, Z. That's basically what your body is saying. So think about this. Think about where your thyroid is. Think about where you're at with your stress, your sleep, if you're balanced, your gut. I can't tell you enough. Take care of your gut, and it will take care of you in every area of your life. Okay? I hope you make some shit happen today, and until next time.
Hey, before you go, would you like to receive my ultimate gut repair guide for free? This guide has everything you need to know about leaky gut, what's causing it, how it's affecting your daily life, a meal plan, and 5 ways you can start healing your gut today. This is the same framework that my VIP clients use when they start healing their gut. It's amazing. All you have to do is leave an honest review of Let's Talk Shit, screenshot it, share it to your Instagram stories, and tag me at Lisa Garrett Nutrition. I hope today's episode inspired you to make some shit happen in your life because you're freaking awesome. And I cannot wait to connect with you next time on Let's Talk Shit.